You know, you're not getting anywhere on this investigation. I think I know why.
Oh, you do you? Well, please. I'm dying of anticipation.
That's cute.
The 90s was certainly an interesting time, featuring a whole range of experimental and oddball video games. Including the rise of the full-motion video variety that exploded onto the scene with classics such as Phantasmagoria and Night Trap.
Help me, please! You're the only one that can save me!
With this now much more movie-like technology, creators of these games started featuring notable actors and IPs of the time to further boost profits, while also leading to the creation of some of the goofiest video games ever made.
Holy shit, it's Brittany Murphy dipped in gravy.
As today we take a trip into one of the best, goofiest, and frankly most hilarious of the bunch. In a 90s detective adventure featuring a number of recognizable faces, as well as good old Christopher Walken. Well, being Christopher Walken.
How's the coffee, Sarge? Nice and hot.
An adventure as star-studded as it is utterly ridiculous. Today, my friends, we take on the case to track down the Ripper. Ripper opens with the scene of a young woman walking back to her home at night. A night that hides a lurking presence in the dark. Making it home and hurrying to open her door, she breathes a sigh of relief, making it inside. Relief that is unfortunately short-lived, as the one lurking in the darkness has also found their way inside. Leading to a bloody encounter, the Ripper has struck again. The next day is where we hear the voice of Jake Quinlan, a reporter with the Virtual Herald, and a man this Ripper has been sending personal messages to, with that of course making this latest slaying something that he must investigate for the safety of the city. Getting our first look at the very Chad Kruger-looking hero of our story.
Look at this protagonist.
He heads inside to take in this latest horrific scene, with this one being gruesome indeed.
Look at the walls, they're so red.
Blood all over the walls, and no close to catching the killer.
And who the hell cut off Joey's head?
Quinlan turns to Detective Magnotta, finding out the victim's name.
Who's the victim?
Name's Stein. Renee Stein. Age 43. Book editor over at Knopf.
Magnotta does not see a connection between this latest victim and the others the Ripper has taken, so Quinlan presses to talk to a witness, hoping to learn more.
But what about witnesses? I mean, this guy must have been a bloody mess, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning at Greenwich Village. Somebody must have seen him.
As far as I know, he left us with one witness, and she's feeling a little fragmented at the moment. This guy is unbelievable.
Magnotta, growing frustrated with Quinlan's snooping, tells him to leave.
Well, you shouldn't be touching anything, should you, Magnotta?
I guess this case has me rattled.
Before leaving, Quinlan scans the broken cup into his personal computer's database, confirmed with an AI voice that sounds like it really couldn't give a
Object scanned into database.
Quinlan then finds a familiar face in Carl, the crime scene photographer, who, donning a beret and the lost necklace of Tutankhamun, reveals a little bit more about the body, while attempting to hold back the 400 gallons of saliva sloshing about in his mouth.
Is there any difference between this murder and the previous ones?
It was identical. Absolutely identical. It was a precision cut. A perfect line.
So it's the same killer?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the organs, they're completely cut to pieces.
Before Carl falls asleep, Quinlan takes a final look at the gruesome scene. Heading out, Quinlan gets a call. I think.
Incoming WAC transmission.
I'm sorry, what?
Quinlan here. Hey, Catherine.
Getting a clue from his girlfriend Catherine, who lets him know that she has uncovered something about the Ripper, and to meet her at the newsroom so she can update him with the details. Finally signing off with a bizarrely aggressive romantic gesture.
Well, after last night, I'd say that I am.
Fucking knock you out, me.
Returning to the newsroom, Quinlan only finds his boss Ben, who lets him know his assistant Catherine ran out of the place like it was on fire.
Then I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Catherine and I met on the job. Despite reminding myself that mixing love and work can get messy, it didn't take long for it to become more than a professional relationship. She was supposed to be my assistant, but she was beginning to act like it was her story. I only hoped that whatever lead she had, she wasn't in over her head.
Getting another whack transmission, yes, it's actually called that, the one responsible for these horrific slayings speaks directly to Quinlan, boasting about his latest victim, as well as promising that Quinlan's sweet Catherine will be next.
She gets it today. The story's all yours. Yours truly, Ripper.
Catherine, what is going on here? Catherine, what is it? What is wrong? What happened? What? No, Catherine, no, Catherine, please, Catherine. The good news was Catherine wasn't dead. The bad news was that she was in a coma deeper than anyone thought possible. The ever-helpful Detective Magnata had her brought to the Tribeca Center for Cyber Studies, also known as the Metacog. Meanwhile, I stopped off at the police station to see a few sources and try to retrieve Catherine's portable whack. Hopefully, she'll have left me a message.
Ignoring the irony of Catherine's portable whack being retrieved by her portable whack, we rejoin Quinlan at the police station, checking in with Sergeant Brannon to see if he can extract any more information.
Forensics come up with anything yet?
Apparently, this pathologist over at the Metacog, he's come up with this theory. He thinks that the Ripper may have been using nanomachines to do it.
I knew it. Talking more, Brannon reveals that another cop working on the case has clearly seen enough, with the station mysteriously receiving the call from the cop's wife, explaining that he is taking a sudden leave of absence. Curious indeed. Getting what he can from Brannon, Quinlan then heads to Magnata's office to have a snoop around, finding a crime report of an arrest of a man named Wofford. Could this be something to do with the Ripper? Scanning it into his whack, Quinlan is then interrupted.
See, what interests me, though, Magnata, is that you have a month-old file lying on your desk. Does it have something to do with the Ripper?
You're lucky I'm in a good mood today, Quinlan, because you come this close to finding out what it's like to be a human shish kebab rotating in one of our fine penal institutions. But you're way off on that.
Not getting much from Magnata, Quinlan then heads over to the Tribeca Center, where they are taking care of Catherine, to see how she's doing. Arriving, he gets a warm welcome from the secretary, disturbingly staring at him like she's about to take a chunk out of his head.
Incoming WAC transmission.
Is this thing on? Hey, Quinlan, I know you were into that cyberspace bibbity boop shit. Listen, I found something. This guy MitchManix, his Patreon, it's out of control. He's got ad-free, uncensored versions of his videos. You know all the bits that YouTube craps their pants over? Bam! They're in there. Full videos, behind the scenes, the lot. Hey, don't go telling anyone about this, you hear me? If that cop finds out about this, his titties will explode. Head down to the description to find out more. It was written on the front page. I don't know what it meant, but it sounded cool. Oh, and by the way, there was some long-haired, pissed-off guy around here the other night looking for you. Something about stealing his crap? I don't know.
Look at this cease and desist.
Oh my God, he's here. Gotta go.
May I help you off with something?
Beg your pardon?
I said, can I help you? What'd you think I said?
Making his way up to the ward, Quinlan finds Dr. Burton and frantically inquires about Catherine's state.
Her consciousness is deeply withdrawn.
Withdrawn? What's that mean?
It means her mental processes, her memory, the basic building blocks of her personality are inaccessible.
You mean she's in there, but you can't reach her?
That's a best-case scenario. We haven't yet diagnosed her psychic damage.
Apparently the Ripper is a Pokemon. On a side note, I wonder how long it took for the sound guy to begin to despise the costume department giving this chap a leather coat.
We're going to just have to wait and see.
The doctor explains that Catherine is in a coma with severe mental damage, and that they will need to send something called a data angel into her consciousness to assess her situation more. Treatment that, according to another of the doctors, Dr. Bud Cable, Burton is dragging her heels on.
She's in good hands, and she'll be in even better hands once Dr. Burton allows us to treat her.
And yes, that is Paul Giamatti. On the way out, Quinlan heads to the morgue to speak to a friend of his working the bodies, and inquires as to what he thinks about Dr. Burton overseeing Catherine's treatment.
You hear about my partner? Who's that? Catherine Powell. She was attacked by the Ripper. Somehow she got away. She's upstairs in a coma. Dr. Burton's treating her.
Oh, your friend's in good hands. Burton's a good doctor. And if she gets stuck, she'll probably call in her secret weapon.
What's that?
A guy named Joey Falconetti.
Who's Joey Falconetti?
Cyberspace expert that Burton uses on all our tough cases. Also known by his old C-Space handle, Falconetti. Get it? Crazy guy. Likes looking at the bodies. I'm surprised she hasn't called him in yet to look at your friend.
What do you mean?
Well, he's the best there is on human-to-human decking.
I don't know about you, but when I hear human-to-human decking, it reminds me of that dude falling into that hole in Jeepers Creepers. Now with some more information, Quinlan returns to the newsroom to ask his boss Ben if he has heard of this Falcon Eddie. Unfortunately, he has not. So Quinlan then sits down at his desk to plug himself into cyberspace that looks like it was designed by collaboration between Tim Burton and Danny Filth. Painfully scrolling his way to the cyberspace library Renee Stein was last known to be when she was killed. Dipping his hand into what I can only assume is some form of lava-filled knowledge cauldron, Quinlan pulls out a note with a call number on it, possibly left by Renee. Still with questions, Quinlan inquires with the program's service desk to probe it for more info.
I could use some help here. You're a human presence, I assume.
Everyone at a service desk is.
Clearly this machine has never experienced a gas station at 2 a.m. Asking the presence about Renee Stein, she does not have any additional details, but does offer help to decrypt the call number we just found, and with doing so, getting access to the book she was reading. Good lord.
A book about the original Jack the Ripper. Can't be a coincidence. Renee Stein must have used this. But what does it mean?
Unplugging and now back in the newsroom, Quinlan checks Catherine's Rolodex for anyone he can see that would be worth paying a visit, seeing that one stands out, so sets off to swing by.
So, Beatty? Name's Quinlan. I'm a friend of Catherine Powell's.
I was wondering when you're going to come by. I read about Catherine in the paper. Told her she was getting too close to that maniac.
Soup here is quite the computer whiz, and apparently a primary contact for Catherine during her investigations. Quinlan also takes this moment to ask about ICE, intrusion countermeasure electronics, digital security systems that have become more and more advanced as of late.
Why are you so worried about ICE?
I have a feeling it's going to get worse.
Your girlfriend had the same feeling. There's some really bizarre stuff on the net these days, ever since Rembers came up with that software with the Ice Maker program. You know, anybody with a deck can construct their own ice.
Bizarre stuff.
Oh yeah, attack dogs, giant rats, minefields, monkey balls, you name it. I can't tell you how to prepare for that world, brother. You's on your own.
Remembering the police report Quinlan spotted on Magnata's desk, he heads over to the address of the recently gunned down Wofford to look for more clues. First finding his hysterical brother Covington, at the ready with a baseball bat.
I've got weapons here that can render you helpless.
Relax, old timer. I'm not here to hurt anybody. I'm just after some information.
Calming the man down for now, it's clear he is still in pieces over his brother Hamilton's recent murder. Covington reveals that his brother was a tech genius, crafting incredible recreations of historical locations for users to visit in cyberspace, work that he suspects the police were a little too interested in.
I'm sure they're in on it.
Do you think the police are in on your brother's murder?
It's obvious the way they were rooting around in Hamilton's work. Kept asking him for his well address.
An interesting development. One that would be made all the better with access to Hamilton's data well, with this being well hidden indeed, requiring Quinlan to solve a number of intricate puzzles around the place to get access to the parts needed to power up the data well and take a look inside.
This is really strange. Books, pictures, and references to Victorian England. The old man must have been constructing a virtual Victorian environment at the time of his murder. But why?
Seeing cyberspace housing so many clues, Quinlan then heads over to Catherine's apartment to see if he can find anything that may give him access to her data well. Once again needing to solve a puzzle, this time with some of Catherine's crystals, messing about with them and I'm sure risking a headbutt in the process. Gaining access to the well after defeating the most 90s of security systems, Quinlan gets a copy of her journal, which unfortunately will need decrypting, something for Quinlan to work on as he uncovers more. Quinlan's investigation continues by heading over to Café de Chambre to hopefully find out a little more about this tech expert Falcon Eddie, Farley mentioned back in the Tribeca Center morgue. Getting lucky after speaking with Gambit, who used to work with the Falcon, revealing that he is indeed a master of tech, choosing mostly to speak to others via the net, as well as being a bit of a scumbag, ripping off a number of companies they worked at together.
What's your interest? You out to kill him?
Well, it's not killing I had in mind.
Oh, well, somebody's gonna whack that bird one of these days. Eddie's consciousness is inside a few hundred terabytes of well space, with his body safely hidden. I set Metacog up with a guy named Twig. Lives out in Hoboken. He seems to always know where Eddie's at.
Now with a solid lead, and just getting more stressed, Quinlan attempts to take the edge off, ordering a refreshing beer at the bar.
How about a beer?
Yeah, sure thing. Why don't you try this one? It's called Viper Pills. Goes down real smooth. It's got some bite. On the house.
Well, there you are, Quinlan. Would you like some beer with your bar? Now refreshed and slightly sticky, Quinlan drops in on the ICU to check up on Catherine, getting another chance to speak to Bud, who has some real concerns around both Catherine's treatment as well as Dr. Burton.
What are Dr. Burton's plans for treating her?
If she has something in mind, she hasn't told me about it. She's blocking everything except the most conservative treatments. We've started to assemble data on the patient's past. We're maintaining life support. That's it.
Well, so what? I mean, she doesn't know what to do. I thought she was the best in her field.
She's one of the best. I don't know what it is about this case. There's something here she's not telling us.
Equally as concerning, Bud tells us Magnata has also been snooping around the ICU, and even got into a huge argument with Dr. Burton recently. Knowing the team here will be sending a data angel to try and restore Catherine's memories of the killer, Quinlan asks if her journal could be useful in pulling back her memories.
Do you think Catherine's notes on the Ripper will help restore her memory?
Those would be ideal. Except what you show me seems to be scrambled. And Dr. Burton still hasn't allowed anyone to tech into the patient's mind.
Right.
Turning to one of the monitors, it shows an image partially formed from Catherine's memories of the Ripper, from her meeting with him when she was struck down.
The answer to the mystery. If I can only make this image clear, we will have our killer.
With concern just growing, Quinlan makes his way to the address he was given for Falconetti, seeing his co-worker flailing away, testing out some sort of new equipment.
Monitoring Helen 1, Circus Maximus.
Meeting Eddie's buddy Twig, who has to be said, has been done a little bit dirty by the FMV pixelation, looking like he's just got done sucking on a power outlet.
Tell me, Twig, is Eddie as good as his rep?
Best I've ever seen, and I'm no amateur.
Despite Quinlan's pleas, Twig refuses to give up the location of Falconetti, but does give us a tip-off to Eddie's well in cyberspace. Something Quinlan immediately rushes over to the newsroom to attempt to tap into, getting blocked by its security system, requiring a password. Racking his mind, he cannot think of what it could be. Forcing his mind back, all he can remember is the room, with seemingly nothing else to give it away.
Monitoring Helen 1, Circus Maximus. Circus Maximus, Circus Maximus, Circus Maximus.
Looking for Falconetti? Well, I think you got him.
What the f*** is going on here?
It's a 40 gigabyte virtual environment. Made it myself.
Ah, the days where simply muttering the word gigabyte was space age and cool. Browsing straight into a trap, Quinlan finds himself at the mercy of the Falcon and his knives. Explaining he is simply here to try and help his friend, the Falcon agrees to talk, providing Quinlan can show his skills in cyberspace, having to complete yet another rail shooter to prove this, for reasons.
Nice shooting, cowboy. Reckon you can fly with the Falcon after all. How's about you and me back at the Hacienda?
Racing back to Falconetti's, Twig is indeed expecting him.
I'm all played out. I want to see your boss in the flesh.
Relax. He wired me on the Ethernet.
Lol.
He's on the other side of the door behind me.
Finally finding the real Falconetti suspended in the back room like a suddenly aged up baby. Eddie is as slippery as his reputation alluded to, but curiously, perks his ears up at the chance to save Catherine when mentioning Dr. Burton, and more importantly, getting a chance to stick it to a certain cigar-chomping detective.
You said McNally? Christ. He's worse than f***ing criminals.
Agreeing to help and meet Quinlan at the ICU once he's recovered from his time in cyberspace, closing out this act.
I was beginning to think I was in a bad mystery novel where everyone did it. It was also beginning to look like I didn't know Catherine as well as I thought I did. The private sources, the research she'd been up to, and the secret meeting with the Ripper, and she never told me a thing.
Now in the ICU with both Eddie and Dr. Burton, They discuss how they're going to attempt to rebuild Catherine's memories. In between, Eddie staring at Quinlan like he's just peed on the carpet. Eddie suggests directly decking into Catherine's subconscious, a highly risky procedure, but one that certainly comes with benefits.
I can rebuild her memory. I can make that image so real, you'll think it's breathing. You'll be able to stare the killer right in the eye.
With Dr. Burton storming off at the very notion of this risky procedure, the two have the place to themselves to give it a try, which clearly pleases Eddie, with him doing a little dance. Jacking into Catherine's mind gives way to an intricate set of tasks interweaved into the deepest regions of her psyche. Just kidding, it's another on-rails shooter section. That after completing, Quinlan amazingly gets access to her directly through the power of incredibly greasy-looking cyberspace. Unfortunately, Catherine is still very much a chocolate-covered potato. Quinlan will need to bring her information on her memories to begin to piece it all back together. Attempting to chat once again with his buddy at the morgue, Quinlan heads down to find an unfamiliar face. Speaking with this chap, he tells us that Farley has recently been fired, with this bloke Bob being his replacement.
Where is Farley?
I have no idea where Mr. Farley is. But from what I've heard about him, I suggest you look for him in a restaurant, one that specializes in fatty cuisine. Do-do-do.
Not getting far with any more information from this strange fellow, he quickly ushers Quinlan out.
My boss finds out you're back, I'll be fired now. Get out!
Now with even more questions, Quinlan makes his way back to the police station to check in on Brannon, before once again being rudely interrupted.
What do you got? A cot in the back there, Quinlan? Here's my stuff. I'm going into interrogation, Brannon. You know, little police work. How's the coffee, Sarge? Nice and hot.
Resuming his conversation, Brennan reveals that Magnato has not only replaced some cops that have been working the Ripper case for some time, but also placed passwords on a whole range of files associated with the case, with this once again being incredibly interesting in uncovering what Magnato is doing. Quinlan turns once again to Catherine's investigation, cracking open her secret files to uncover a set of bugs that she sometimes uses to secretly record conversations. And returning to the police station, we set one up right in Magnato's office.
Magnato will never even notice the bug is there.
Yes, I'm sure he won't notice. Safely camouflaged amongst all the other cigars that look completely different. The other bug looks like it would fit nicely in the ICU. Swinging by this disturbing yet adorable secretary, Quinlan snags a keycard and makes it into Burton's office, scanning in a couple of files and placing the second bug neatly into a skeleton model that looks alarmingly aware of its fate. While we're looking into Burton, it's to the gym next to speak to the lady herself. But first, speaking with the woman at reception to get access to the gym's database that reveals a highly interesting piece of information on the doctor and her incredibly flattering leggings. Looking at her entry in the database, her emergency contact is listed as Joseph E. Falconetti, the Falcon himself. And with the Falcon's interest in working with Quinlan starting to make much more sense indeed.
So, you used to be married to Eddie. I mean, somehow I can't picture you two together.
Took you long enough, Quinlan. Biggest mistake of my life.
How long did it take to figure that out?
About 5 minutes. 6 months for the lawyers. 15 years to forget.
Asking the doctor about Magnata, even more is revealed that her relationship with him is also deeper.
He's a man with a grudge.
A grudge against who?
Who do you think?
When asking why Farley was fired from his job, Burton seems just as surprised as Quinlan.
You didn't know?
No. I didn't. I like Farley. He was a good pathologist.
Well, don't you find it mildly interesting that they'd fire him in the middle of the most celebrated murder investigation the city's ever known?
Celebrated murder investigation? Now there's a sentence you don't hear every day. With the relationship between Eddie, Magnata, and Dr. Burton just getting more and more concerning, Quinlan decides to stop off at their old university to speak to one of the definitely not theater professors who taught Dr. Burton, and by extension knew a little about Eddie and Magnata.
I couldn't say. She may well have found his air of danger sexually appealing, and she was certainly aggressive intellectually. I'm sure she went after him to challenge his skills, see if she could prove herself superior. Who knows? The Web Runners may even have been her idea.
The what?
The Web Runners. It was a gaming club of some sort. It was cutting edge. Claire and Falconetti were among the founding members. In fact, when she left school, Claire seemed to do little else. She virtually disappeared.
Does this club still exist? I mean, where can I find them?
Oh, they're like children with a secret clubhouse. All I know is that they post notice of their meetings on the bulletin board out in the hallway.
Piecing together the address from the bulletin board, Quinlan confirms the address of the web runners, wasting no time making his way there, to a huge warehouse, and unplugging one of the web runners to ask for information, with clearly Quinlan having enough of people giving him the runaround.
This won't take too long, honey. I just need to ask you a few questions.
Make an appointment with my secretary.
I'm gonna tell you what I've been going through lately. Hop along. I've been playing tag with a serial killer and ruining my shine by walking through his victim's guts. My girlfriend's in a coma, and the next time the Ripper kills, it could possibly be yours truly, so f*** your cartoons!
Okay.
The web runner reveals more about Dr. Burton's past, explaining that not only her, but both her and Eddie were renowned web runners, so much so that their hideout even has a picture of them mounted on the wall. Although this web runner unfortunately does not have any information on Magnata, but does point us in the direction of where we might be able to reveal more, in the web runner's archive, with her even providing the web address.
That's all I can tell you, man.
What am I doing with my life?
Rushing back to the newsroom and jumping straight into the runner's archive, getting to see all the old web runners, such as Stephanie Jordan and Victor Estevez, looking like the world's most depressing Elvis impersonator. Most importantly, we find Dr. Burton's entry, revealing quite possibly the most shocking revelation yet.
Left web runners after marriage to Joey Falconetti ended in divorce 15 years ago when the latter was sentenced to prison. Burton Falconetti marriage ceremony of note, due to disruption by another web runner, Vincent Magnotta, who claimed to be in love with Burton.
While we're here, we also get a peek into Magnotta's old profile, getting to see what Christopher Walken would look like if he was disturbingly obsessed with David Bowie. Now armed with a whole host of new questions, Quinlan returns to the web runner's hideout to find another gruesome sight. The Ripper has struck again, this time cutting down Stephanie Jordan, another of the OG web runners. Trying to console the girl we previously spoke to, Quinlan gets a call from Ziggy Cigar Dust himself.
Too late, Quinlan. I never thought I'd see you miss a story.
Why'd you remove the body from the scene, Magnotta?
You know, I'm getting tired of answering to you. I'm in charge of this investigation.
The public has the right to know what happened in there.
Not if I don't think so. Maybe I'll leak some information I just found. Interesting stuff. Could really make you wonder.
With Magnotta removing the body from the scene, the next stop is an obvious one, heading over to the Tribeca Center and down to the morgue in an attempt to track down the body. With this new guy not knowing much about the new arrival, but pointing Quinlan to the morgue's computer, that after a bit of tinkering to get it working, the pair curiously find out that Stephanie's body is being held in the animal storage area, a place used for testing with animals. Wandering through the storage area, Quinlan finds monkeys, but no body. Although heading to the back, he comes across a voice-activated lock that beyond it must lead deeper into the restricted rooms. Needing some know-how to overcome this lock, a revisit to Soap is required to provide some pearls of wisdom, of course along with another baffling facial expression.
You know anything about voice locks?
You mean you don't? Man, where you been? They're basically all the same, but if you're trying to bust into one, all you gotta do is get a sound sample of the owner's voice saying, "It's me, open up!"
So a plan is made to record a sample of Dr. Burton's voice. Grabbing an audio recorder from cyberspace, Quinlan heads to the gym to put his plan into action.
So you were a web runner?
15 years ago when I was a kid.
So that's all it was, kid stuff.
Actually, it was exciting. I learned more about cyberspace there than I did in school. But basically, it was all about games. And I grew up.
Well, I take personal offense to that, especially coming from a woman wearing an outfit that makes her look like she's slowly trying to wiggle out of a trash bag. With Burton shocked at Quinlan informing her of the death of Stephanie Jordan, he then puts his plan into motion, attempting to record her in a way so subtle that he might as well have just stuffed her whole head into his pocket.
Dr. Burton, you're gonna have to open up about
Don't Dr. Burton me. I'm not going to open up to you. This is ridiculous and I don't have the time.
Come on, just one quote for attribution.
Whatever I give to you is off the record.
Finally, Quinlan lets her know that he is aware of Magnotta busting up her wedding when marrying Eddie.
I know about Magnotta breaking up your wedding.
Hard to believe, isn't it? charming guy like him.
Oops, she's out of the trash bag.
Hard to believe he has a heart. But I think it still beats for you.
When I married Joey, I learned how crazy Vince Magnata is. He became obsessed with me and Joey. That obsession nearly ruined our lives. Now it might kill us all.
Done with the doctor for now, and with a good recording of her voice in his possession, Quinlan heads back to the rooms in the morgue and begins to try and open the security lock, completing a really cool section, cutting up sections of her speaking to swap around the wording.
Don't Dr. Burton me.
And create a recording of her requesting access.
This is Dr. Burton.
Now deeper inside, Quinlan gets another call from the man or woman of the hour.
Incoming WAC transmission. Source unknown.
Dear boss, see what happens when you get too close. Someone dies. She knew me and had something to say. Now she's silent. I'm holding her tongue in my fingers right now, and it has nothing to say. It's dangerous to know me. You've looked into my eyes, and I've seen your fear. Yours truly, Ripper.
Reaching the animal research area, a projector lies on the table.
Apparently, Dr. Burton was conducting some manner of cyber-cognitive experiments on monkeys. The question was, why was she hiding this in an old subway tunnel? If I'm really lucky, this poor monkey can tell me the answer.
I'm sorry, what? As bonkers as that sounds, after tweaking with some of the lab's equipment, that is exactly what we get.
She can kill others like me
Without touching me! Cyber! Space!
brain.
Returning to Dr. Burton, she is adamant that she will not be uttering a word about her secret lab.
Last time, Quinlan, no comment.
Secret labs, mutilated animals, remains of Ripper victims.
That's enough.
Talking monkeys. You know, I never cited a monkey as a source.
Not officially, no. Hitting dead ends, Quinlan returns to Falconetti's to get a chance to discuss with him all that he has uncovered.
So you and Burton were married.
What can I say? It was the perfect day. Magnata f***ed it up.
How do you mean?
My wedding day. I knew he had the hots for Claire, so I didn't invite him. The bastard turns up anyway. You know the part where the judge says, anybody got anything to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Magnata was holding his peace, and he had a lot to say.
You mean he interrupted the ceremony?
Yeah. And after we threw him out of there, he turns up the party afterwards, like nothing happened. Walks up to Claire, asks her to dance. She looks at him. She looks at me. I say, get the f*** out of here! And he goes nuts. My wedding day. Took 4 guys to pull him off me. 5 guys to pull me off him. After that, nothing was ever right.
But it's not only Eddie that has some answers to give, as Quinlan heads to the cop shop to seek out Magnata, as he also has a whole lot of explaining to do.
Why didn't you tell me about the web runners?
What are you talking about?
Your past. Your involvement with the web runners, the fact that you're an ace decker, the fact that you've known Burton and Falconetti for years. I mean, you're all connected. I'm supposed to think there's nothing to this?
If you're making an accusation, swear out a complaint.
Why? So you can lift some more evidence?
You're walking on thin ice, Quinlan. If it cracks, ain't nobody gonna hear you scream when you go under.
Why didn't you tell me about your affair with Burton?
What makes you think I have to tell you anything? Let's just say, what I give you are pennies from heaven.
Oh, so you were playing God when you tried to break up Burton's marriage to Falconetti. The plot thickens, Magnata.
You just crossed the line. Ask your buddy Falconetti what it's like to be my enemy. A pissed off cop can screw your life up in so many ways.
With so many developments, Quinlan remembers to return to Catherine, using the decking software to reach her subconscious and remind her of her memories that she has lost. With this being incredibly shocking to her, either that or for a moment she realized that she's slowly turning into a hot dog. As painful as this is for her, it's clear that it is working, as she is slowly coming back to us, even if the details still remain out of reach.
I see him! No, I see her. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can't see it. I can't see it.
Coming back out, Quinlan gets another call from the Ripper.
Dear boss, I'm having one of those awful days. My mood is foul, and I don't know what I'm to do. Luckily, I have a hobby to keep me busy. Yours truly, Ripper.
Making good progress, the next stop is back at Café Deschamps, after getting another whack call from Farley, frantically asking to meet. Speaking with the man, he claims he has figured out how the Ripper is carrying out these murders, coincidentally just before he was fired at his job at the morgue. Incredibly, Farley explains how the Ripper could be using cyberspace to attack his victims remotely, a terrifying notion, and one that even for Quinlan is hard to accept, for a moment, before getting a tragic, shocking demonstration.
Oh, Christ, my ulcer! I'm not built for this stress.
Vic, you gotta stop eating this shit. I mean, do you really think you were fired because of this? Vic! Oh my God! Vic! Fuck! Oh, God! There's nothing like a guy blowing up on you to focus your attention. My life was in danger. Farley's murder coming the day after Jordan's showed me what happened to people who knew too much. I had to determine whether Burton, Magnotta, or Falconetti was really the Ripper, and quick. And while I was at it, I had to find out what the hell Catherine had been up to. The fact that the Ripper could kill via cyberspace over time and distance meant that I had to crack this nut or I was a dead man. First, though, I had to keep my ass out of jail.
Rejoining Quinlan, we find him in an all-too-familiar spot, this time on the receiving end.
I want to know how you did it.
Shit!
Have your badge for this. I know all about pressure points. The pain's exquisite. Don't leave a mark. Not that I give a damn whether I mark you up or not.
Oh, you are losing it, Magnotta. And when I run this story, everybody's gonna start thinking that you're the Ripper.
You're the one getting mystery messages from the Ripper. You're the one with Powell when she's attacked. You're the last person Stephanie Jordan contacts. You're with Farley when he's killed. How come the Ripper communicates only with you?
I'm a writer, asshole.
If you ask me, it looks like the Ripper's a sick of a muckraker who can't tell the difference between a pen and a blade.
Didn't this sink in? When I told you that before Farley was killed, he told me that the weapon is in cyberspace. That means that the killer could rip you apart and be sipping coffee in a cafe 1,000 miles away.
You dirty.
Realizing he has nothing concrete on him, Magnotta lets Quinlan go. After taking some time to recover, Quinlan gets back on the hunt for the killer, miraculously this time having impeccable timing. Paying a visit back to Covington Wofford, he walks in to find a dark figure clutching the old man.
Help! Help! Don't move! Help! I said don't move!
Arriving just in time to save the poor bloke, but with this also gaining his trust, with Covington giving Quinlan access to his brother's secret well to talk to a digitized version of him beyond the grave. Pocketing this, Quinlan knows that Eddie, Dr. Burton, or Magnotta must be the one behind this, so heads first to Eddie, throwing out a direct accusation to gauge his reaction.
You know, Eddie, you're the most likely suspect.
You think so?
Well, it's either you, a cop, or a respected surgeon.
Looks bad, don't it?
You got the temperament.
I'm a nasty guy.
And the expertise.
The knives. Don't forget the knives.
Yeah, looks pretty bad.
He then heads back over to the police station to do the same with the wise-cracking detective.
You know, you're not getting anywhere on this investigation. I think I know why.
Oh, you do you? Well, please. I'm dying of anticipation.
Well, it's pretty obvious. You got clues and suspects coming out of your asshole. You're not doing anything about it. I think the Ripper is running this investigation.
That's it, huh? Well, here's one for you. It's a picture of the Ripper. We got him in a cell downstairs.
Falconetti.
That's right. I didn't trust Burton, so I had Department Angels patch deck into your girlfriend's mind. Upload everything she had on a Ripper. They come up with our killer, case closed.
Ignoring Magnotta's threats, Quinlan doubles down, finding his way into Magnotta's apartment, curiously finding Catherine's whack amongst the pizza boxes and girly mags. Downloading the data, Quinlan is able to see Catherine's entry on Magnotta, Falconetti, and Dr. Burton back in the day, being obsessed with Jack the Ripper, and constantly playing a role-playing game in cyberspace, where they played the parts of the Ripper, his victims, and the police, until something happened that suddenly made them all stop playing. Something that none of them ever talked about again, and something that Quinlan must find out. Conveniently knowing someone who used to design environments in cyberspace, Quinlan remembers the access Covington just gave him to speak to a digitized version of his late brother, and heads to the newsroom to jump in. While he's connected, he spends a few minutes checking the newspaper headlines for the Ripper murders for any additional clues, reading through the headlines, as well as some of the articles, such as top 10 virtual websites, virtual as opposed to what exactly, and how I made a fortune selling bagels. Returning to task, Wofford reveals that he was commissioned to build a digital version of Whitechapel, as it was in 1888. As doing so, he slowly became suspicious of his client and their intentions, so cunningly built a weapon alongside the project, one that could be used to destroy all that inhabit this cyberspace. Once built, he hid it in 3 locked vaults, with no prizes going out, to where Quinlan must be heading to next. Cracking into the wells and defeating the ice within to retrieve the parts of the weapon, he faces off against towering security forces, including a genuinely disturbing rat program. With now a weapon in hand and a wealth of more information, Quinlan makes sure to dive back into Catherine's subconscious to remind her of these memories.
Ah, what the f***? Good lord. Holy shit, it's Brittany Murphy dipped in gravy.
Updating her on what he has found, Catherine lets slip the reason why she was looking for the Ripper, as she was actually planning to go behind Quinlan's back.
It's the story of the century. I wanted this one, Jake, and the Times is gonna give it to me.
You were gonna take my story to the Times. I can't believe this. I thought we had something here.
Along with this highly disappointing reveal, Catherine explains how she was attacked, following up on an anonymous source, leading her to a book on Jack the Ripper, a trap that transported her to the Whitechapel cyberspace, where the modern-day Jack the Ripper struck. This Ripper must be stopped. With Quinlan now pissed off enough to free himself from his libido, he charges into the bank and sweet-talks his way into Catherine's secret files. While doing so, he gets a transmission from one of his bugs he placed earlier, with a shocking reveal.
Incoming surveillance transmission.
What the hell are you doing here? I told you. I'd stop by later.
I don't want you at my hospital anymore. Here's the disc of Quinlan's last interface with Powell. It's the last one I'm giving you.
That's police evidence. You give it to me as long as I tell you to.
If it's police evidence, why is it you don't want anyone to know about it?
Don't question my methods, Claire.
Like you're not questioning mine? I've heard you and Quinlan actually think I might be the Ripper.
Look, we both know one of the original web runners is the murderer. That's a pretty short list of suspects.
I'm sorry, what?
And it's getting shorter.
As I recall, you did your share of web running.
You have an advantage over me, Claire. You know who did it. I've been cutting you some slack, but I run out of time. It's either you or your ex and Claire. I'm gonna nail one of you.
Maybe I should tell your captain about these tapes of Quinlan you've had me making on the sly. Let him decide which one of us is acting more suspicious. The thing cuts both ways, Magnotta. There's a few other things I could tell him that he might find real interesting.
What did you see in him?
Look, I made a mistake marrying Joey, but that doesn't mean I regret leaving you. What do I have to do to be free of the two of you?
kill us.
Finding the ledger and some documents in the safe deposit box, and using the other clues he has uncovered, Quinlan speaks to Gambit once more, revealing what he has found, who after hearing this leads him to a data well, once owned by Falcon Eddie, one containing a number of Ripper costumes and items, most likely used in their games, along with, intriguingly, a recording from all those years ago, when the tragic event that suddenly stopped them playing was carried out.
The stage is set. The roles are cast for the next game of Ripper. Let the mystery begin. These will be my last game master notes for Ripper. Magnata, Claire, Mendler, Stephanie Jordan, Estevez, Josie Dorset, and myself were playing. This is the final game. It began like any other.
The night is too cold for a lady.
You're looking for a go then, are you? What's in your bag?
Something you won't like.
Without warning, the simulation had become reality, and the death was real.
I've lost her. She's flatlined. Who was playing Mary Kelly?
It's Josie. She and I switched. It's me, Claire.
No! How could this have happened?
We never learned the answer to that question. The Ripper had claimed his hunting ground, and now those who played that game must live in fear of when the Ripper will next strike.
Mind now racing, and with things just getting more and more insidious, Quinlan heads straight to Eddie to grill him on the events of that night, along with everything else he has uncovered.
What's with this murder in that last Ripper game?
Somebody slipped something into the game code that killed her. Because I was the game master, I took the fall.
So what happened?
I rotted 2 years in fucking prison. Till my lawyer got him to overturn the conviction. Seems the police held out some evidence. Right about the time Magnata got promoted to detective. It's interesting stuff for an investigative reporter, don't you think, Quinlan?
Now, why would Magnata frame you?
To bust up my marriage. He couldn't handle that I won Claire and he didn't. And I was sleeping with her every night.
What did Claire do?
I'll tell you what she did. She deserted me. I had to slip the divorce papers through the bars of my cell.
Sad.
Eddie admits this girl, Josie, was the first victim all those years ago, but has no idea why. But it only takes a trip to Dr. Burton, pressing her hard for details, before she too finally cracks.
Why would someone want Josie dead?
I think the killer thought she was me.
Well, how do you figure?
Because right before the game started, Josie and I switched parts. It should have been me who was killed.
Well, why would someone want to kill you?
I don't know. Maybe because I've had trouble with men.
Still baffled by the picture of the Ripper he got from Magnata, Quinlan finds a photo decryptor at the news station, and surprise, surprise, it's been tampered with.
If the lackluster blue steel already wasn't a dead giveaway.
I know this image of Eddie is a fake.
You're full of shit, Quinlan. I had a half a dozen angels working our girl's head with Tanaka synopticons.
I'm sorry, what?
I ran it through an imaging program. Came up with 7 instances of image falsification.
I bent the rules a little. What do you care?
I don't think you bent the rules. I think I heard him snap.
I'll rewrite the damn rules if that's what it takes to nail Eddie.
Well, if it's another frame job, I'm gonna have to run it in the Herald.
No, please don't. Not the Herald.
That's cute. Cute. You're gonna need all that cute stuff when I run my story. Because with no badge and no bounty, you're gonna need something. A front page story is probably gonna free Eddie. And it's gonna cost you a shot at the Ripper bounty and probably cost you your badge.
So like you. Thinks he has me by the balls. All right, Quinlan. You wanna quit a bust? Fine. He's out. And it's on your conscience when he strikes again.
Catching up with the last of the 3 suspects, Eddie is just as suspicious around the players of those Ripper games so many years ago being cut down.
What do you know about Josie Dorset?
Barely knew the girl. It was a long time ago.
But apparently it's fresh for somebody. I mean, it's got to be the same person.
No shit. And guess who's on the short list? The son of a bitch is gonna kill everybody that played that game. There's not many of us left.
Knowing he is getting close, and with tension only mounting, Quinlan swings by the cafe for a quick drink to calm his nerves.
Now they say that Picasso drank 15 of these, fell headlong into his blue period on the house.
Yes. Once again, quite literally. Once again, smelling like Charlie Sheen, Quinlan heads to the ICU.
Oh man, we got big problems. We lost the image. We almost had it and the screen went static. It's off the monitor, it's out of memory, it's probably gone forever. Burton's decked into the net, I can't reach her. Something's seriously wrong, Quinlan.
It's gotta be the Ripper, he's making his move.
I am making my move! Oh, don't be so surprised. You're in a room full of computers. Only 3 victims remain. And you, Quinlan, I hadn't planned upon killing you, but Mr. Nosy's gonna find out what it's really like to be on the inside. Return to where you began. The library. The Ripper book. Remove it from the shelf and dig in. The stage is set. The roles are cast for the next game of Ripper. Let the mystery begin.
Faced with the final confrontation with the Ripper, Quinlan heads to the well and picks up the book, transporting him to the Whitechapel nightmare, but armed with a weapon that could finally put an end to this once and for all.
I found myself in Hamilton Wofford's virtual Whitechapel.
Now in the virtual version of Whitechapel, the 3 suspects appear, pleading their innocence.
I'm a doctor, not a killer.
Don't lose your head, kid. I ain't your killer. I'm a cop.
Leaving Quinlan with only one last task: to unleash the weapon at who he believes is responsible, to finally put an end to the madness.
Put it down, Quinlan.
You really put a job on him. I couldn't have done it better myself. One must look out for oneself.
With the weapon deployed, the entire virtual world begins to crumble around him. Racing to the exit, Quinlan makes it out, just in the nick of time.
And so unlike the first Ripper, this one didn't get away with it. Magnata was as violent as he had seemed, turning an obsession with a game into a nightmare as dark and terrible as the one that gripped Whitechapel over 150 years ago. I'm certain that in Magnata's mind the killings had a logic, but I didn't feel up to pondering a madman's motives. Not today, anyhow.
Oh, that's just a shocker. I mean, who would suspect this guy? And so ends Ripper, a star-studded, silly as hell, yet oddly entertaining adventure game that actually has multiple outcomes depending on how you play. Call me a boomer if you will, despite me not being a terrorist, but I'd take Christopher Walken threatening to turn me into a shish kebab over a Seth Rogen skin in Call of Duty any day. But enough from me, what do you think? What did you make of this bonkers murder mystery? As always, I'm keen to get your thoughts down in the comments. Huge thank you to my patrons as always. If you're interested in getting ad-free, uncensored, and extended versions of these long-form deep dives, along with a whole range of other goodies, then head down to the description to find out more. Please like the video if it was to your liking. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.